Namaste and in la catch, and welcome to this episode of One World in a New World. I'm your host, Zen Benefiel, and not as always, I'm going to refer you back to previous shows to find out what in la catch and namaste actually mean, and then challenge you to actually apply that in your lives and see the difference that it makes. Don't believe me? Test it for yourself. All right? And I hope you do.
All right.
Thank you. My guest this week is Otto Gatternigg. He is currently living in Cambodia. He's been an amazing traveler in all kinds of things. He actually started as a teenager in the banking industry. I found that quite interesting. Quit school to do so, by the way. And ultimately, he spent 10 years working as an academic advisor for East-West Cambodia, which was in Cambodia, and he started his own organization. And he's CEO of and founder of the Mental Happiness and Inner Health. He's also got a podcast by the same name. He organized and founded the Foundation for Humanity. He's a founder of those two, and he's a great guy too. We've met and talked a few times, and he's just an amazing fellow, and I'm sure you'll find that out. Otto, glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Zen, for having me. And this is mutual. You're a great guy as well. I'm following your work for a while, and I'm very grateful that you invited me for an interview. Thank you so much.
I just love to talk to people, Otto, especially, I'm curious about people. We just mentioned something about curiosity before coming on, and I really feel that's the door to learning, is finding that element of curiosity, whatever it may be about, and to explore that fully as much as possible. So speaking of that curiosity, I know most of my guests have had some kind of early intuitive inner connection experience of the world and their life in it a little deeper than most, and kind of set them off as being a bit weird and strange amongst their peers, and yet it affected their lives in such wonderful ways long term to where they were able to make practical and pragmatic use of that connection. So how did yours begin? I know just from what you've done and what you're doing now that it had to have been there. How did it emerge?
At a very young age, I walked with my parents on the street, and then I always could tell them if they talk to someone, if it is a good person or a bad person. And then the parents always said to me, so how do you feel that? And how do you know that? I say, I can feel that. And this is still today, that I can sense humans ahead. If I probably, that is the energy field they have, so I can feel that energy field, and that fits to mine or not. And when it not fits to mine, then is sometimes it's not so a good energy field. Let's see like that. So that started pretty early.
That's amazing. And the clarity that you had in it. Well, hello there, welcome. We have a guest, another guest peering in. Such a beautiful face.
This is the daughter of my wife.
Oh,
I love children. Sorry for interrupting.
Oh, no interruption. Children are always welcome.
They're so loved.
And
the kids are the Jews. I always say children are the Jews, and I love them, and I do everything. I protect the children from abuse. Back in Burma, I had to flee the country with a bodyguard. I will do everything. I do it again if I can protect the child. That's me.
Good for you.
Part of me.
And
yes,
we need more of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, I'm curious as to that inner sense that you had. The obviously you called it energy. As you went further in life, I'm sure that there was some curiosity from yourself, as how do I really do this, right? And exploring that mechanism. What did you find?
Yeah, I found that I have ability to pick up the energies from other people ahead, even online. And my grandmother, the mother of my mother, she saw that. She said, my boy is seeing. He can see. And it was not so appreciated from the family, but the grandmother, she supported that and she was proud of that.
Oh yeah.
You know, sometimes you say more, or you say the truth, or you say like it is. Not everyone wants you. You're not liked by everyone. Let's say like this.
Rarely are you liked by anyone, as a matter of
Yes.
fact, especially that young. It's like, okay, you know, just okay, stay away. And then when you get older, that really doesn't change a whole lot. Your sphere of influence, I guess, may, and your collection of friends is few as a result. And I don't know that we always, you know, that we have that many friends in life to begin with. Those that are important, that accept you, right, that understand, okay, here's something that's, I don't understand it, it works for them, and I'm good with it, right? And it's reliable too. And as you learned that reliability and developed the ability, how did, or were you able to see that in others as well? Were you able to, you know, open that door up and peer into others' ability, or were those questions not really welcome?
Not really welcome. One wants to see, you know, everyone is the same and someone is different, the so-called black sheep. Maybe it's the white sheep, maybe all the others are black sheep.
I like the tie-dyed one myself, right?
And I just worked with that, and I listen more and more to my inner voice, and other people say, oh, he is too sensitive for life. And you know, when you're young, you suffer from that, when you're criticized and you not really get it, that it's just the opinion of others that got nothing to do with you. But it takes a while, you know, they took a while to get the inner strength and grow inner strength to just say, okay, this is the ability I have. Maybe not so many others have, and I'm grateful for it, and I work with it.
Sure. And you realize that as much as you want to attempt to fit in, right, you know, because this is what we want as children, we want to belong, right? We want to fit in, we want to have friends, and we want to play and enjoy life. And those kinds of sensitivities, mine were the same. I figured out a way to kind of put them to the side and not talk about them a whole lot until I got older. But like you know, there was still that, I'm okay with me. I know I understand this. I don't care what anybody else says. I know my experience, and that's what I'm going to trust, no matter what somebody else tries to get me to believe.
Yes, exactly.
Now, how, you know, I know there are many who listen to this and feel very similar in their aloneness, let's say, because this sensitivity, and maybe you'll agree with me that I believe we all have this ability. We just don't nurture it. We get it cut off as children. We listen to the programming, we want to fit in, and we get, you know, there's all kinds of ways of diminishing that we get from parents and school and our cohorts and church. You know, it's scary in church when the general philosophy from that perspective is that this stuff is all demonic for some reason. And yet, if it were so, why is it so natural when you get out of your own way and just enjoy your own connection with all that is, for lack of a better? Now, how did you develop that? How did you work through those challenges when you were younger in navigating life?
I went my own way. I took my own path in life. I not listen too much what others say or what they want me to do. The job in the bank was the only one I did what my parents wanted me to do. And that lasted for 5 years, and then I founded my first own company in interior design and product development from one day to the other day. That was I love to work with wood as a child from little on. I just needed a piece of wood and I was quiet and happy all day. And some nails and the hammer if possible, you know. And that stays still today. And so I founded my first company in working with wood and building furniture and interior design and product development for industrial companies and so on. I just always, I listen inside and I say, I listen to myself and I do what my inner voice is telling me. And this is still today, till today.
Now, the work that you did with the woodworking, especially, you know, I had a great uncle that had a wood shop in his basement, and
Beautiful.
he actually made grandfather clocks. So, you know, really intricate scroll work and lathe and mill and all kinds of stuff. And I was just fascinated in looking at all the machinery. Now, my dad was a tool and die maker. I never really saw what he did, but I understood it to some degree. But the very first thing that my uncle taught me how to make was a baseball bat on a lathe.
Wow.
And he made it out of a piece of redwood. So I'm in a little league at the time. Man, I could barely pick the thing up, let alone swing it, right? I couldn't believe how heavy it was. And of course, we should have made it out of ash or something like that. It was a little lighter, more steady or sturdy wood. But just the smells and the
Beautiful
feeling of working with the machinery and the natural materials was just soothing, right?
Yeah, it starts, you select certain pieces of wood at the wood seller company, you know, and you select it by hand, by eye, with your heart.
Yes.
And from this piece, then you make a chair or a table or a bed or whatever it is, you know.
It's all part of the creative process.
This is so beautiful. This is really beautiful. I still hugging trees. I love trees. I have a little terrace garden with flowers. They grow like wild, like mad. Because this, so I start the morning. My morning meditation is taking care of my plants and talk to them, you know, nourish them and so on. And you get back so much. Same I say, when you meet the right people, you know, you get back so much. You know what you give. First you give, and then don't expect anything in back, and you will wonder what comes back when you did it the right way. And so is it with all living things, I think. Sam.
Now, this philosophy almost seems counter to what the programming that we get in society and from television and you know, the outer world in general. How do we, or how do you suggest that, you know, we can counter that within ourselves and look for those things? Because that, as you talk about your morning meditation and being with the plants and the flowers, and that, I'm sure, brought up a sense of just harmony and almost bliss with the audience, because that's what those environments, nature offers when you just, you know, allow yourself to be in it. Is that possible to carry into the other life of in the outer world with other people and jobs and society and all that kind of stuff? And how is a way that works for you that you could share that may work for others too?
So I would say, first of all, it's possible to share it with others. It is your energy you share with others. And when you come and so full of happiness, inner peace, and inspired and curious for life, and at the same time so grateful for life because it's limited, other people pick that up. Not everyone, but certain people who are on a similar frequency, they pick that up immediately, you know. And I think even now in really, really challenging times, people are more open than ever before to pick up the good energies and cut out that bordering energies that pull us down when you watch too much news or when you start to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. We all do that for a part, but we should carry our own joy and happiness and joy for life first. And then
Sure,
it's a
sure.
lot easier to carry the ballast.
What is they say? Happiness.
The rucksack.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It's like, what is happiness is contagious, be a carrier,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
And that truly is it. And it's an inside job. We have to choose to do that. And perhaps many don't realize they actually have that choice available, because the outer world, the distractions, the distraught, the chaos, being obsessed with self-hygiene and sequestrated to the point where you're told to be afraid of everybody and you can't come out or do things that were normal, and people weren't even able to frequent their families' funerals, right, for a time. That was just horrible. So coming out of that, it's like, okay, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right. I can't believe it'd feel right to anybody, right? How we deal with that, how we come out of it, is a completely different story, because now we're in a new time, if you will. And I love how Jose Arguelles he referred to the new time back when he first brought out the Mayan calendar to the Western world, or North America and Europe, basically. Yes. And it was fascinating. And I met Jose at one point, him and his wife, and they were just hilarious people, intelligent, fun-loving, brilliant, and really understanding the nature of a much larger kind of cycle. Speaking of, galactic, cosmic, however you want to express that, in moving through this period. And for lack of a better, Covey fit right into that, because as you're talking about frequencies, right? This is something we don't have a language to talk about this openly with succinct and congruent, understandable language that can be ubiquitous yet. I think that's coming. However, in the meantime, we're creating it, right? So this frequency that exists, we each have our own. There's every life form has it. The cosmos has it. And from what Jose was describing, which really kind of makes sense, is that we're in this epochal change from the Piscean to the Aquarian age, and there's a frequency shift, subtle, but a frequency shift. And so because we're subtle energy beings and we are affected by that subtle shift, when it moves toward greater harmony, so in the whole purpose of the window between the two, I think, is a 50-year cycle or 50-year window. And in that, there's a rise of consciousness and awareness up to what was said to be the winter solstice of 2012, to where it reached its peak. Often similarly stated as being parallel to the information curve, which started out slow and then is almost vertical now in the amount of information that we get. And that consciousness and awareness curve was very similar to that. Then what? Right now you got it. What do you do? Right? Well, you have no choice. You carry it with you everywhere. Kind of like what T. Harv Eckert says, what you do anywhere, you do everywhere. So you carry this with you. Well, what kind of effect does that have in your neighborhood, so to speak, or the world for that matter? Well, everything that doesn't fit with that lower vibration suddenly comes to the surface for review, such as all the aberrant patterns and the seeming chaos that we thought was chaos that we just couldn't see the patterns of yet. And now that's all kind of unpacking, and COVID being the last one that kind of brought everybody to, oh, okay, we can do something else. And then a bunch of people started gathering online in virtual environments to do so. We met in one of those with the Biz Catalyst group. There are many. So how do you see this being a way of helping humanity move to a new level of interactivity that's a little more congruent with the nature that we have of just wanting to love and be loved?
We're moving towards the light. I contemplated on that. We're moving towards the light, and the humans, the living beings who are not moving towards the light, they will stay in the shade. and we
That's
will
what
be in
hits
the
different
light
now,
already.
isn't it?
Yes, yes, yes. I reflected on that. I see it like that, and I feel it very strongly. And the humans who moving towards the light, it's a group of people, a fast growing people of a fast growing group of people all over the globe. And we shining, you know, and that getting more and more every day. And the one who not want to jump up on that boat, okay, they missed the boat before COVID already. That's my opinion, you know. It's a wake up call. It's a
Right.
huge wake up call. We need we all know it, that we needed a wake up call. We struggled before COVID already and said, oh, something is going to happen. Oh, something is going to happen. And then we were thinking, yeah, economic crash.
Sure.
Like
Sure.
before in 2008 or so. So examples, they are easy to get out of the pocket, right? But then that we get a pandemic and that will change the world. And then when we so through, we will see next winter, right? But after we so through, there is suddenly a war. And so we not ready yet, and we not done yet with the old rucksack we carry. And we have to find solutions and think in solutions, not thinking, talk about old problems.
Right.
That's getting boring now because we know it already. So they'll ask, talk in solutions. And these shining light people, I say, they all talk in solutions. They all see life as life is like it presents itself now to us as a big chance, a new opportunity to find a new, happier, and more peaceful life, and to leave all that material obsessions behind, right?
Right.
So when did I start to evolve, and when did I start to feel in harmony with myself? Yeah, as soon I left my ego beside. And this happened when I had the burnout 23 years ago. Suddenly I was limited to zero. And then I started to think. So obviously we need the punch in the face sometimes to wake up
Oh
and
yeah,
say,
that
hey,
cosmic tube
hey,
before really works now,
yes,
doesn't it?
yes,
Uh,
yes, we need it. This is like a child needs. Sometimes you have to say no. This now is enough, or this you don't do, or what. And we all somehow children, you know.
oh, absolutely. And you know, the child's vision isn't biased. It's open. It's curious.
Beautiful.
And
The
so,
juice is the juice.
yeah,
The child.
it truly is. And we still have it.
Yes.
We can bring it
Yes.
up in our own self and
Yes.
experience it and be playful and joyful and
Yeah.
um,
Let it breathe again. Let it breathe again, the inner
yeah,
child. You know, not just the saying, oh, keep your inner child alive. First, you have to find it, or you kept it alive all your life, and you never let it die. You never become an adult, like
right.
it's a robot, like a robot. It's the secret, right? Don't become a robot. See every day as a birthday, you know, every day is a new dawn, and really live it with all your senses. There's so much beauty, even there's so many problems in the world. This
And
is why it's so nurturing now to talk to
yeah.
other light humans.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
more
bet.
than
You bet.
ever, more than
Now,
ever, Sen.
was there a point where you got curious about how you were thinking?
Yeah, because I could strongly feel I think different than others. Because others, as a mirror, I could see, oh, I'm the more unique than with the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And I stood to that. I was not, you know, the crowd can kill you and say, oh, you the black sheep, oh, you, and then you the bad man, even you had good intentions. That also happened. It happens to every one of us. We got
And
good intentions, suddenly they turn that because they not get your point, or they cannot follow you, who you are, or for what you stand for, and then suddenly you the bad guy.
far too
Insane,
often,
crazy. He's
well,
crazy.
and when
Don't
we
listen to
start,
him, he's crazy.
yeah, especially if you're asking questions that are obvious, and
Yes.
you know, it's like the elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about, and yet here you open
Yes.
the door up, and let's start describing this elephant and what, you know, how well trained it is, or how well programmed, or how inconceivable we have had our view of it. Um, and then moving it into something that's a bit more practical and pragmatic. Now, in this process of becoming practical and pragmatic and establishing, let's say, you know, a few can change the world, or so it's said, and yet it takes all of us to be a part of
Yes.
that in some willing fashion. How do you see that as a shift in behavior in how people are interacting with each other now compared to just a couple of years ago?
I would say that the number of people who are more respectful, more kind, and more respectful towards others, and put the own ego beside, they growing fast. I can feel that. We're getting more and more. And because it's the only way out. When we still trapped in old patterns of thinking and patterns of ongoing doing the same, and then knowing already at several fronts that does not work anymore, but we will continue. We have to, it is like we're giving birth to a new world. And there are many humans who in this birth and go with this birth and want this birth. Actually, we struggled already, like I said.
Sure.
We had to hit ground zero, or like you say, and now it's a big chance, and now it's up to us, and we're getting more, and we're getting more. I feel it, and it's a perfect time to meet. To answer more your question, it's a perfect time to meet other humans on a very similar frequency. It's a perfect time. I met fantastic humans in the last several months online.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like old friends. It's like you know each other for a long time. You share the same values, points of view. You enjoy life. You're curious about life. You cherish every day, every moment. It's getting more and more. And this is fantastic, you know.
And it's easier to agree on things than to find things to disagree about.
Of course, same thought. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yes,
you're
it is.
looking at how we can find that reunion
Yes.
with us, and what that actually means, and having the sequestration gave us the opportunity to look inside a bit more, and yet you
Yes.
have to go inside in order to connect
Yes.
with
Yes.
anything ultimately, and for some reason that instruction has been lacking, and yet looking at the dynamics of a planetary civilization and the process it goes through, it takes thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of years in order
Exactly.
for that
Exactly.
to happen. So
It's
the
a,
opportunity that we have right now is phenomenal. Now, and the fact that you mentioned um, the connecting with others, do you think that there was a setup?
yes.
How do you see that?
Yes. There was a setup for that pointed on a special frequency, and all the humans who are on that frequency, that was like a shout out, and we jump up on that, and we feel that globally.
Mm-hmm.
This is how they say, the children of the future. They
Yeah.
said so beautiful. Maybe we the children of the future with that kind of consciousness and that feeling back to ourselves, and not back to society, you know, or
Right.
what the media is telling us, or whatever, you know. The more we cut out now media, it's good to know what's going on in the world, don't get me wrong, and I'm very interested in that every day. But I have my points where I cut it out and I do my own stuff, and then I go
Sure.
back to the corporate life and listen what happened in the world and so on. We have to make our little peaceful islands, but the same way not ignoring what's going on globally, but to somehow to protect our energies from too much diffusion and be more focused on that. And so we meet also other people who are on this frequency. And this is what I say, what I wanted to say before. This is the light. I see these people all moving towards the light. And so I call them light people, and the ones who not ready, they still stay in the shade. It is not negative now or whatever. They still in the growth,
Right.
in self-growth, self-development, and growth, or giving birth is includes pain, right? To find myself was actually painful. you know, it's like a birth, you know, but then when the baby faces the world, or when you through your own inner growth and inner development, then it's beautiful, you know.
It really is.
So
And
yes,
what you,
yes.
when you're talking about the light, I'm reminded of what Dr. Laszlo speaks of, and from a Vedantic standpoint of the unity consciousness. The Vedantic philosophy, which is tens of thousands of years old, spoke of this unitive consciousness where we are all part of the light, and that each one of us are individuated from that light. And I got a similar experience as a teenager, and I was blessed, cursed, you know, a little both, early, in that I had this opportunity to find out what truth was. I actually prayed to know what it was, and I was willing to die for it if necessary. I was in a place in my life where I was just distraught, dealing with, you know, being an orphan and adopted and finding my way and not knowing why I was here and asking questions. And so what I found out from that, I was asked if I was willing to die for what I believed in, and said yes, which was cosmic consciousness. Now I'm truncating this experience greatly, right? And as I agreed to, I actually got a tug from my solar plexus. I left my body. I looked at my body laying across my dorm room bed, turned to look where I was going. I'm immediately engulfed by white light, and I feel this home feeling, like unbelievable. And it also had a high-pitched, iridescent, effervescent sensation to it. And as I recognized I was analyzing how I felt about it, I realized, oh, I'm thinking, so I can't be dead. So that was my first realization, right? There's no death. And we hear that, but we don't have the disconnection from the physical body in order to actually experience it too often. So I got bored in the light, impetuous teenager, and I flippantly asked, is there more? And then I feel a movement. I'm in a background, in an indigo background with points of light surrounding me, kind of the opposite of where I just came from. And I knew the points of light were points of consciousness, whether in body or not. I wasn't sure because I knew I wasn't. And yet I had the sense that they were somehow. Didn't know where, just that they were also in body somewhere. And the voice picked back up and basically told me that these are the ones I'm to work with in this lifetime for completing my mission, which was to help facilitate a new world order. Now, that new world order that I understood was one of harmony among people and planet, which is what we're talking about. It had nothing to do with putting a facade on the old world order and calling it new, which is what the attempt has been, right? That's where we're at right now. It's like, okay, we're beginning to see the narrative and how it is being pushed by those who own the media from a Western standpoint that has nothing or doesn't talk about the past or the history of the events in the areas that are affected right now, to a point where we can actually understand, okay, here's what's going on. Here's the reality of what's happening there, not what we're being told, but of the manipulation that's taking place in order to push an agenda. And one side has been pushing the idea of having an enemy forever. Why they do that instead, you know, why they see an enemy instead of a friend, that's still kind of, I don't get that. That's old programming, possibly from the early days when, you know, we were gatherers or tribal people, and, you know, I want what you have and I'm going to come take it. Well, that behavior doesn't work anymore. Right? We've got one planet. We need to learn how to share it and work together effectively to do so.
Absolutely, yes.
So how do we do that, do you think? Do we start acknowledging this deeper sense of ourselves and becoming a bit more vulnerable in voicing it in public places more?
Yes.
Would that work?
We do. I think we do it already to a certain percentage. That the people more open up more and really say how they feel. I also encourage humans in my writing that they open up and say how you really feel. Don't say anymore, thanks, I'm fine. When someone asks you how you are,
Fine.
say how
How are
you
you?
say
I'm
how.
fine.
Thanks.
No, you're not.
Thanks is the worst word for me. When someone say to me thanks, I feel so unappreciated and disrespected. Really, when you share something and someone say thanks. No,
Right.
but it's more and more people who are thankful to see towards the light, to see the truth, and to find so back to themselves. I think that is fastly growing now.
And maybe a
Right?
little more
That,
appreciative.
more and more people see the manipulation. Sorry for interrupting. See the manipulation. More and more people and focus more on themselves, their families, their beloved ones. They say, there I can make a difference, right? In the small circle. And when that I carry it out, or my small circle, or the circle I'm in, let's say so sounds so egoistic. But when we as a circle carry it out in the world, we're becoming more and more and more. Right, and I tried that in my neighborhood, and it works. It is when you walk the dog, when you're really kind, and when you're interested in people, and when you're lovely to them, and sometimes they have children, and you bring a small present for the children. It's not about how much was the present; it's the attention and the giving from the heart. I just have people around me here. They all love me. They way from afar, like in the old days, you know.
Right,
When you
right.
see so in the old movies, so the peaceful neighborhood and everything sounds so pink, so peaceful, and so oh wow, and everyone laughs and hello, and that really have a nice day. That really meaning, not just to say have a nice day.
Now
And
you bring up,
this is so nourishing,
oh,
really,
absolutely,
it's just
absolutely
beautiful, you
nourishing.
know, unbelievable. I go at 5 o'clock in the morning to buy some water or what, and the people hug me there. Can you imagine? When they see me in the morning and they say good morning in Khmer language, and then they hug me and smile. And then I say, need some ice too. The ice is for free. You don't have to pay. And all every day. And this is, we get back what we send out, you know, without expecting anything return. You be kind, yeah, be kind. Show it more. You generous, yeah, give more. You know, when you and when I have a little, I still give. This is the difference. Not because I have a lot. I don't have so much, but I still share. And when I would have a less, I would still share.
Mhm.
And you so much good things coming back to you. No money can buy in the world.
Not at
I
all.
tell you. At
I
all. Never,
Well,
never.
and what you illustrate is how we do what's right in front of us to do, right? We can't affect the world at large now unless we have the skill set and are in position to do so, right? And
Yes.
you know, if
Yeah.
our
In a small scale. Start on a
right,
small scale.
that's
Yes.
where everybody can start there. You know, there are
Mm-hmm.
those who have a larger
Absolutely.
skill set, maybe have more responsibility, you know, like me being the executive director for a global peace movement now. I mean, my God, I would have never thought about being in that.
Beautiful. Congratulations. You
Thank you.
deserve it. And
Um,
you deserve it. You're the right one. You're the right one.
I feel that way. You know, the
Yes.
whole thing, the
I
whole
feel that too.
process just felt like it was a natural part of my own development. And I'd spent 47 years in preparation, right?
Precious time spent.
And it is,
Fruitful.
and
I
yet,
feel that.
and yet, there's still this notion in most people, oh, that's impossible. Well, we got to start somewhere, folks, you know, and how do we do that? Well, we find a couple of things we can agree on, right?
Yes.
Our two basic
Yes.
premises. Don't be an aggressor, be a good human. And then we can unpack that in conversation, in gatherings, and doing events and you know, festivals and things like that, where we come together and we just start talking about these kinds of things. And then it spills out into the community, and those people like you and I and others, those points of
Close.
light that, you know, I'm supposed to work with, are supposed to work together, right? And the thing is, when I first started talking about it, people didn't hear facilitation. They thought I was a flag waver and pretending to be, you know, the new savior or whatever. No, you don't get it. And it's amazing how much you can explain to someone and they still hear you from that place because they can't imagine something else, right? And the facilitation's about working together, right? We each have our own jobs. They're dependent, and this is the fun part, I think, looking back at how we developed our skill set, right? And how that applies now in a different way. And yet it's still what we were given to develop in life and find useful or have found useful to earn a living. Now, how do we move that into the next layer? What do you think is possible with that?
That's possible. We keep what was working for us already, but we have to be open to values the new world will ask for, right? So not everyone is ready, as we said. Probably we ready, like we talk, and the energies I feel, but
we were at least willing to be curious enough to experiment and say, I don't know, why not? Let's try.
Patient enough. We have to be patient enough, and most of all, we have to be curious to reach a happier life. So we need to do something for that, right? That won't be barbecue chicken not fall from heaven, we know. So we have to do something with it. It starts with ourselves first. And I say, put your own ego aside and look real how life is, not just for you, the problem you have, billions of others have. You know, don't see yourself as the only one is suffering or have now these problems or the bucket is tight. We all have that. You know, it's challenging for all of us to see us or each of us as a part of the whole, and not there are two wholes, right? So the one, like you say, the kind people, and the other part is the aggressors who still live in that tricky mindset that they rule the world and they own the world and they will live forever and so on. Leave their own ego beside and think about yourself as one part of the whole and of the universe and of the entire thing and not more. You know, no one is a boss. When yesterday someone said to me, yes, boss, I say, I hate that. I say, there's only one boss and he is upstairs, you know.
Right.
Don't, you know, we're not bosses. We have to leave that behind. We're not boss here. We just
We're all
guests.
part of the God Corps.
We guests. We guests for a limited time, you know. When you get that, and that you are not you, everyone, all of us, not the center of the world, it's a lot easier. Also easier to communicate with my neighbor and with the next one, you know, because we somehow equal. And when we then nurtured by respect to each other, it works. It works. It is not so complicated like people think it's so, oh, how we will find freedom again. You start with yourself, find freedom inside yourself and carry it out in the world. Talk about it. How you found freedom. Yes, it works. It works. It's never easy, but it works.
Absolutely. And you're right. It isn't easy, and yet it is, right?
Yes.
When you start making the choices and you continue making the choices and acting in such a way, you begin to realize, oh, this does work. Why wasn't I doing this earlier? Right?
Yes.
And that's okay. You know, we tend, and this is, as humans, we're taught to be very self-deprecating. Why is that? Right? We should be praising of ourselves and each other and looking for, and this is, you know, this is what's coming out in new management philosophy. I've been in organizational development and management for decades and following, you know, the best practices, things like that. And now it's coming to, you know, like Otto Scharmer's work with Peter Senge and MIT's, what was the class? Transforming Business, Society, and Self. 32,000 students worldwide, all interested in that topic. Wonderful. This has been 5 or 6 years ago. So imagine what's happened. This is pre-COVID, right? So imagine it's like the universe saying, okay, tap on the shoulder, get ready, folks, it's coming. And we don't see that necessarily, or many don't. And yet when you can step back and look at things and from an observational standpoint without the emotional attachment, then you can begin to see these things and go, oh, wow, now I can embrace this because it's there, it's present. I can witness it happening, even though those who are in the trenches and in the midst of it may not be able to distance themselves far enough to actually be able to see it. They can still sense it. And then it seems like there's just this subtle shift that's taking place that everybody knows is happening. Of course, from the calendars, from scripture, you know, the apocalypse, right? And it's funny. You ask 9 out of 10 people what apocalypse means, and they'll tell you the end of the world. Well, no, that's not what it means. That's what it's been misconstrued to mean
Yes,
in the media
yes,
channels.
true,
What it actually
true,
means
true.
is unveiling knowledge,
Yes, yes,
right?
I know.
So
Beautiful, yes.
the unveiling of our inner knowledge, it's like, have you noticed how every religion on earth points you inside, right?
Yes, yes.
Why? Why do you think that is? I love that. I heard the cock in the background. Thank you very much for that side effect. Um, and acknowledgement. You know, that's part of the listening, the paying attention, the subtle sounds and things that we often just gloss by and not even give it a second thought. And yet all of them seem to actually give evidence of how connected things are when we start paying attention.
Yes.
How did you
Yes.
find that?
I don't take anything for granted.
Hmm.
So I found it. For me, is everything is like I said, every day is a new birthday, you know. Every day is a new dawn, every moment. And I'm 63 now, and I know I'm getting older, you know. But I feel younger than ever, you know.
Oh,
I feel so I'm timeless. I feel so more and more one with life and the universe and with certain other people and so on. It's beautiful, you know. I can say, like they say, wine get better when aging, right? Good
oh yeah,
wine.
absolutely, absolutely.
It's a bit like this. That wine was really in a good barrel.
And
It
as
was
we
in a good
age,
barrel.
now I just recently turned 65, and you know, it's normal in America. It's like, okay, retire, get your pension, you know, Social Security, whatever. It's like, what? I'm
Same
having
in
too much
Europe.
fun.
65, same in Europe.
Okay.
Yes. I never think in retirement. I will work or do that what I love till my health says no. Now you have to stop. Let's say it like this. I not think in retirement. I get even retirement money from my government when I'm 65 because I paid all my life in that retirement account. As soon you started working right in the corporate world or with my own company and so on.
Right.
But I never think in retirement. For me, that is a strange word. Really.
And
From
yet
what?
so many.
From you want to retire from yourself or what? That not work. And then you retire from work here. What you will do then? You hear that retirement shock is a common word. Oh, he retired and then suddenly he had a retirement shock. That means he never really cared about what he loves to do in his life. So he did the kind of work, and then from the corporate world and the law, he can then retire, and then it's a retirement shock. We will never have a retirement shock because we mentally and with our hearts,
Right.
and our felt souls, we will never retire. We will bring in some more beauty or knowledge or share it with the world as long as we live.
Isn't it
This is the
amazing?
meaning of life. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And truly it is. It's the meaning of life, is to have that joy, that exuberance, that willingness to explore and continue exploring and do the things that are placed in front of you that you never expect to show up, and yet here it is. Now, it's funny how, you know, previous generations, my father's included, you know, he wanted me to find a company, work till I retired, and then enjoy life. Well,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
just didn't fit for me, and he never really
Neither.
understood why, and was pretty disappointed with how I lived my life accordingly. And I get that. And yet, if we're going to find that, you know, we can't live our lives fulfilling other people's dreams. We have our own, so why don't we work on those?
Yes.
And you know, that's why I started
Absolutely.
my business back in 1988. Be the dream. I thought, wow, that was, you know, that's a way of life. It's not just a company name, it's a way of life, and how to do
Beautiful.
things. And those things are achievable. And if we just, you know, I'm listening to all these leaders in entrepreneurial thought and business building, things like that, they're all saying the same thing. You know, you start with a vision and you really hold that, and then it kind of unfolds the path to you to get to it when you pay attention. You know, who was it? You may be familiar with Robert Fritz. He had a company called Technologies for Creating, and one of his simple techniques was you hold an image of yourself, how you are right now, as honestly as possible, and you created a vision of where you want to be, whether it's 5 years, 10 years from now, or whatever, and you really, you know, envision that place, and you kind of go in there and live there for a moment, and then you hold those two simultaneously together in your mind's eye, and it tends to, what he calls, create structural tension.
Yes.
And so it begins to pull those two images together. And we've got all kinds of psychospiritual technologies that are available to us that we haven't even begun to explore because religion hasn't allowed us to.
Yeah. Yes.
So how do you see that changing?
I just can say when I on my telling from my own example where I realized that is when I came to Asia when I was 50. You know, I come to Asia the first time and I could feel I belong here in Southeast Asia. And then I flew back after 2 weeks. I had a burnout and I recovered from my burnout in Southeast Asia in Thailand 23 years ago, as mentioned already. And then I came back and then the people said to me, "You different. What did you do? You were in Thailand. Did you take drugs?" I say, "No, I did not take any drugs, but you different. You, the body somehow the same, but you completely different. We don't." And I changed and I could feel I belong here and I want to live here. And it took me then 10 years. I came then over and over again. I could not stop that anymore. And then after 10 years, I moved. I sold everything, all my belongings, cleared my life, and I moved. I followed my dream, my inner voice, there where I feel healthy and happy and nourished. I want to live. And that was not Europe for me.
Right.
But it took me 50 years to find it out. I even had to burn out and really crash hard ground that I found my real home and my real family. And I still have that more than ever, you know, more than ever. I found my wife here now with 63. I was married twice in Europe. And I knew this is not the right, this is just I do it, but this is not really 100% authentically me.
Yeah.
That happened everything in Asia, you know. And so then it took me 10 years just to tell others, when you realize something you really love or you want to go for it. Don't stop, don't stop. Put your love in
Don't
it,
give
put
up.
your interest in it. What others say does not, it's just their opinion, you know, go for it. And when it takes you 10 years, like in my case, then yeah, it took you 10 years.
Me 30 in mine. I was married. I was married
It's
for
the
10
growth.
years.
That's the growth. That's the growth. That's the giving birth to that from the funnel, from the first spark, from the intuition you have, till you there, right? So don't stop and forget what others say. I heard terrible stories about me, why I always travel to Thailand and so on. Everyone can imagine it was not like that because I was with monks
Well,
in the countryside.
Yeah.
Up to them. Everyone has to find his or her own happiness and fulfillment.
And when people have a lack of information, they generally fill it with crap, right?
Yeah, and also many people. Sorry, also many people don't share your happiness. They're not able to share your happiness when you say now, "Oh, I reached this," or "Wow, what happened to me now?" or this and that. "Oh, wow, I tried so hard and now I got it." I can be so happy with and for you.
Right.
Really,
Well,
genuinely, from my heart.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, following your heart is just, it's the epitome of life, I think.
Yes.
And being able to do that, especially, it's funny how Southeast Asia has been attractive to spiritual seekers for hundreds of years, I think. I remember a series of books called The Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. It was written by a guy named Bayard Spalding. And he took a group of scientists to Southeast Asia in the 20s, because he'd heard about the monks and their abilities and all kinds of stuff. So he took all these guys there to find out what's this all about, right? There was curiosity. And all of this information then he put into a series of books and unparalleled in a lot of ways. They're close to Guy Ballard's work with Teaching the Ascended Masters, also written in the 20s, which is kind of interesting in itself. And yet we still have this reticence of being willing to acknowledge that this kind of understanding, this intelligence beyond understanding, actually exists, and we can be a part of it. And like I said, when we don't understand something, it's an unknown, so we're reticent to explore it, or most are, for whatever reason. It just seems to be the behavior pattern, right? But then there's that life falling apart. What do I do? Right? There's the wake-up call. Do you keep doing the same thing and expect different results, which is what Einstein says is the definition of insanity? Yes, or do you actually shift what you're doing and pay attention? How, in that process, when you went through your burnout, what were the kinds of things that was going through your head at the time? I understand the heartache, but what was going on in your head? How did you process it?
I processed that from I don't want to live anymore and I'm looking for the next tree. I got the rope already to I found my joy in life again through that suffering. As a result, when I came out from the suffering, I found myself again and the joy of life. And I have to say, honestly, the trip to Southeast Asia saved my life. And I was very grateful for that. I could feel that very, very strongly, sitting on the beach with the tears in the eyes for hours and feel it that like you go through that birth channel, And yeah, this is why people said, hey, what happened to you? You're not the same anymore. That was a visible inner growth in between 3 weeks, but invisible, it was a long time. That was just then they giving their seeing results from
and you
the evolution, inner evolution, let's say like that.
Right, and you gave yourself permission to have one.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Changed my life, really. I changed to Buddhism. I started to read books of Buddhism. I realized it as a very good philosophy for everyday life. You're responsible for all you think and all you do, and this is your karma too.
Oh gosh.
Yes.
Really?
Wow, that's beautiful.
I'm responsible for everything I think and do?
Yeah.
No, I can't be that. That somebody else got to have that.
I know. When you really start conscious to think in that and live that, your life get enriched. I can promise. And this is not now following another religion. It is not religion in that case. Buddha was not a god. It was a human being, same you and me.
Sure.
This is the beauty in it.
Well, again, here's a word, right? Let's unpack that word. Religion. What's it mean? Reunion with God.
Yes.
Okay. Where is God? Everywhere.
Everywhere. In everything.
Right. We think of God and we have this anthropomorphic notion, and then scientists, or at least some pseudoscientists, say, well, no, it's just energy. And my discussion with Dr. Laszlo, I mentioned that, okay, according to quantum physics, we're 99% space and 1% material. And he said, I would argue with that. I'd say we're 100% energy.
Yes.
And, I had to, undeniable. In that moment, I had to say, you're actually right. If we pay attention to all of the science that we have to date, that's current, it's all energy. It's all vibrating strings. It's all little squigglies, where they called quarks or quartas or however, gluons. I think it's one of the terms is how do you glue this on? I don't know, but it's got to stick together, right? And that's just how it all works. Once you begin to step into that understanding the philosophy. Now, science used to be called philosophy until the 1400s. What changed? We wanted to make it more materialistic.
Yeah.
Well, we've kind of
Yes.
blown that one now, haven't we?
Yeah. Do you see where that led us? The materialistic thinking that we are the bosses.
Right. You know, we
Where
totally.
that led us back to zero.
So how do you see that shift from the old school, you know, like we're told we have dominion over the earth, and we misunderstood that. That means we can do anything? No, that means we're stewards. Now, how do we shift? How do you think we can shift from that idea of dominion to the stewardship idea of dominion? How do you see that happening, and what would you suggest might be some of the core thoughts to entertain?
By thinking and doing more conscious,
What
not
do you
so
mean by that?
influenced with the monkey thought in your mind, where thoughts pop up and come and go, where you're more conscious on yourself and your own energy and what you do every moment, from waking up in the morning till going to bed in the evening. I practice that every day. This is I can feel inner growth, more harmony, more peace, and others around me feel that too. And suddenly it's a field of good energy, of, like we say, harmony. It's the frequencies aligned with each other, right? And you feel it harmonious by doing.
Now, and harmony doesn't
By
do away with the chaos. It simply makes it manageable.
Yes, it's stronger than chaos, harmony.
Yeah.
This is same I always say, when you see something, a root from a plant come out from the concrete or from the asphalt, and then I say, see, life is stronger than this. Or in some of my plants, they root so strong that they really, I don't know how to say, but they crack the pot, you know. They show me,
Yeah.
hey, there is the power you not see. The power is under soil, beneath soil, below soil, or in the soil. You don't see it, but it is there, you know. And sometimes it shows up, and then you see how strong it is. Like the root or the plant comes through the concrete or through the asphalt or the street. Suddenly it comes a flower up through it, and I say, see. And see that more, you know, what it takes. And when the plant can do it, we can do it too, because we also plants or living things, like you ever want to call us, you know. We are living things, we call us humans, and these are the plants and these are the animals. But I think in the end of the day, it's all the same. It's all the same. It's living things. They come and they go, you know. We can talk, we can articulate, some, not all. We can articulate each other better, even through challenging times. It's a push. It's a push forward, to say it like that, right? And the one who wanna go through that painful birth to the new world, they will reach at the other side, you know, where you're happier and more fulfilled and
You
at
find that it's a
peace with
push, or it's
yourself.
more of is it a push or more of an invitation?
Both. We see it as an invitation. Some others, this is not negative. Sorry, I just want to say, some others see that they need a push. For us, it's an invitation. For the people who are already in the light or in part of the lights, it's an invitation. You know, it's a chance. It's a chance now that we can really change something. Sometimes things have to go completely down and crash into ground zero, and then we can build up something new. To
Well,
build
I
a
live
new
in
house,
Vienna.
build a new house on an old house. You know, I saw that when they did it, and then the people were never happy in the new house. And then we go back in time and look, why, what was the old house before? Yeah, the old house before, there died some people on the mysterious ways, or there was a graveyard on the old house or whatever. I saw that in real, and the people never happy in the new house. And then I say, this is the energy from the old house or what was there before. And this is very similar what happens now. We don't have everyone up to everyone, but we should let the old energies go. The energies who hurt us, who made us thinking, who made us seeing no future. You know, we should let us go and focus on the
Right.
new things.
It's
Open
like
up,
arguing with the
open the
past.
windows, open the windows and let the new in. You know, just open. To be open is so much progress already.
Sure. And when you're fighting the
Yeah.
past, you're fighting the past. That's where your focus is. It's still on the past. So then we begin to move
Not
into,
stick to us. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yes.
how can we,
Yeah.
um, as a general or as individuals, um, what can we do on a simple, everyday, moment to moment kind of activity that would give an opportunity to experience a greater reality and more connectedness?
Love yourself more. Love and respect yourself more. This has nothing to do with an ego. This is a healthy relationship with yourself. When you find, I think that many people have no relationships with themselves anymore. They have many relationships in the outer world, but with themselves, they still a mysterium. Found yourself first by giving more love, more respect to yourself. Give yourself more time. Listen, go out somewhere in nature, leave the mobile phone at home and just sit there.
Do you think you can give
Just
it to
sit there.
others without having it first yourself?
I think it's more authentic and it's fruitful when you go yourself first through it and then share it with others, your experience. Then you like a teacher and you never did it yourself. You talk the talk. You have to walk the talk first, best with yourself, and then turn this experience out and share it with others. Let
Kind of like being
others.
little kids again, right? Don't listen to what
Yes,
don't listen to
yeah.
what
This
your
is the
parents
truth.
say. Watch what they do.
Watch old people. They very old people. They become kids again. They do crazy things. They think things that not fit together. Whatever. I remember they say, "Oh wow, look so many aeroplanes today at the sky," like a kid. But they, in fact, they suffering from dementia. You know. But they turn into kids.
Right.
And to never let this kid, this child inside yourself die. To find it over and over again when it gone through toughness and harsh life circumstances. When it's gone, try to find it again.
And
Find
there's lots of
yourself
ways to
and
do
your
that.
inner child. Pardon?
And there's lots of ways to do that.
Lots. Yeah,
There
lots.
are people
Lots.
that,
Lots.
there's workshops, there's books, there's your own ability just to ask how and shut up.
Play with children. Play with children. You don't need books. Play with children. You will see. Share a moment with them. They live so in the moment. Kids.
Yeah,
We can learn so much from them. And this is why the little kids that come here before, she loves me because I always play with her. I show her full attention and respect. Not so, oh, these are just kids.
and they don't have to be
They
kids.
see more. They
Play
see,
with people.
yes. They see more than we see, but they cannot articulate, luckily, maybe. I always say the real life is still you in the system. When you start being in the system, when school starts,
But
this is the
doesn't
first 6
language
years.
get in the way? Right? We
Yes.
speak so many different languages. We try to understand, and even
Yeah.
one of the things that a mentor taught me years ago, who's he's an arbiter, a mediator, and has been doing it for decades. He says, there really is no conflict. There's only miscommunication. And those two
Yes.
people who are in seemingly conflict have shown up to the table with two different dictionaries that they speak and listen from, and they have no clue what the other one's like.
Yes.
And
So
only
true.
until that conversation begins to where you start sharing how you understand, you have one word that has two different meanings to each of you, and then you unpack that as to why it has that two different meanings. Oh, well, let's agree on a mutual meaning for it then. So then you have this shared understanding. How do you think that that's creatable between individuals in a moment when there's an opportunity for it to happen? What would you suggest is a good way to introduce that kind of conversation?
Just start it. Just start it. And when the other is ready to listen, you know, I
Oh,
say
is it
the
that
student.
simple? Is it really that simple?
They say in the Far East, one of the many quotes and philosophies is, when the student is ready, the master appears.
Very true.
Yeah, when we're ready, it appears. When we're not ready, someone can say, "Oh, Sam, do this or do that," or "Otto, try this." When we're not ready, we can try it not work. You know, it has to come like from inside out. You know, and then we're ready. You know.
And we're so uncomfortable with that process. We're used to thinking and shoving it into our bodies and the activities that we do. So what's that? How does that difference, how can you notice it, and what are the sensations and feelings that go along with that? You know, and as guys, we're supposed to be compartmentalized, and you know, we just divide everything up and segregate everything and compartmentalize stuff, but we don't do that. You and I, we have a much more feminine aspect of a global view.
Yes.
Of how it all fits.
Thank you for saying that. That is very true. It's a feminine aspect. I was even criticized for that. I'm too feminine because I could feel more and more deeply than others. And
I'm
then they say
laughing.
he's more like a girl than a boy. You know. In the meantime, they don't say that anymore.
My wife does.
But when I was younger.
My wife's from St. Petersburg, right? And she's got a lot of male energy. She says I'm the woman in the family, right? Because I feel things, I emote, I'm constantly, you know, working. If I feel tension, I've got to do anything to get that possible to move that tension. Well, it may not be appropriate to do it right in that moment.
I understand.
Right. And so that's one thing that we have to learn. We can't necessarily address that and you know, kind of need to be like a woman. We need to wait, just be heard for a while and not have to fix anything.
Yes, true.
Right. And that's the beauty of relationship. You know, we're all in this, you love this. We're all in relationships on the ocean of emotion, seeking safe harbor. And in that development, the conversation has to be had. Regardless, you have to be vulnerable enough, willing enough, and curious enough to want to do that, to want to feel that shift. And like you said, and I totally agree with you, I didn't expect you to say it that simply. Just start it.
Yes.
Right? And it's going to feel really uncomfortable. It's going to be something that you felt like you've never done before because you haven't. You're going to be scared shitless in the process, right? Yeah. And yet, once you do it, it's like your heart just opens up. There's no more constriction. You're being heard. You're having a conversation. As uncomfortable as that conversation may be, it's still now that energy is flowing, and you've invited it to take place. And so it does.
Yes. So it grows. Yes. Something is left, something important from that conversation, even if it was hurtful.
And it may happen
later.
This
progress happens many times through pain. You know, the pain is a byproduct. Same I say, my ego is a byproduct.
Right. Or pain's the initiator, right? It's like the fiery furnace, right? You got to go through that angst and say, wait a minute, this is too uncomfortable. I have to say or do something to move it into a better place. And oftentimes, what we generally do in the past is we rescind and we want to go to war instead, right? Because we can't reach that place of vulnerability where we say, you know, I was hurt when you said that. And then the other, well, it was my intention to do so. And you know, and then you begin to have this conversation of unpacking what happened so that you can have a clearer view between the two of you, or the group, or the corporation, you know, depending on how large you want to have that conversation. And those conversations seem to be being had more today in this new time, in this new space of an emerging new world order, whatever it's going to be. We don't know yet. How do you see this happening um, in the next few years? What kind of trends do you see that we might be able to recognize in ourselves and in the world of this wonderful transformation?
I think we will turn, more individuals will turn from consumer to producer. And I think also that more people will start their own business and not working for a corporate company anymore. As part of this giving birth to a new world, more people
I
will
like the
say, me
great
and me,
resignation.
yes, they say, no, I follow my own way. I not want to work for that company anymore. My dream was to be a baker. I want to make, just an example, make the bread, and now I start and I open my small little bakery, and then I let it grow. And when you do it with your heart, and when you have a hand for it, you know, and it's the right stuff for you, you will be successful, and whatever it is. But when you 100% in it, it can only be fruitful when it's a good thing, you know. And I think that more and more people get that, and more people cut the BS out faster than ever, you know. It's an awakening. It's giving birth, and
We do.
I hope it is we are on a way back to ourselves.
It's beautiful.
And
It,
I
it
hope
starts and
that,
ends
and
with us.
what I feel it works for many. Back to themselves, who they are, and what they want from life, not what someone is telling them. You have to buy this, and this is good, and this is not. All the manipulation stuff from the consumption world, from pulling out your money from the pocket faster you can think by manipulation. You know.
Right.
Jews, we are we hit the point of Jews now, where Jews more and more comes out, and the masks fall off, and this is very, very positive, you know. And like we said today for several times, giving birth is never without suffering, you know. But suffering is also part of awakening.
Part of the joy of birth, isn't it?
Yes,
It
yes,
it's
yes.
and it's a wonderful thing. Now, do you think that, you know, you mentioned that especially that the BS is leaving, right? That there's much less BS in
We see it faster, you know. Let's say like this. I don't know
well,
if it's leaving, hopefully, but we see it faster and cut it out. More and more humans, and say, I focus on what's important and what got value for me and for others. And this I work in and I share. And all the other things, so forget it, you know.
now it's
We went
interesting
through
that
that already. It's over, you know.
what is the millennials started it, Gen Z even more so now. Um, they don't put up with they recognize the schmooze, right? They're
Yes.
like, I don't, just give me the facts, right? Tell me
Yeah.
straight, and they will cut through the BS in order to find that. And they really don't care about anything else. They just want authenticity, transparency, and honesty. Um, and yet the world, the working world, the marketplace doesn't know what to do with them because they don't fit in the old models anymore. And even in Klaus Schwab's book and COVID-19, The Great Reset, he asked two questions. Can we be caring, compassionate toward each other coming out of COVID? And the other question is in regard to business, and can they be agile enough to survive? Because if you're not, you're going to die. And that means all these new things that are coming out. Now, I know Schwab's got his different idea, right? This is
Yes,
about
we
his
all know.
idea, the Agenda 21 and the World Economic Forum and all that kind of stuff. Just the questions that he's asking are valuable. And regardless of where they come from, you know, questions are good. We don't want, and this is a challenge that I have in that, oh, but these guys are on that side. right? So I see every question through that lens. Well, no, you need to see the question as the question, not a side.
Yes.
There's no bias. It's just a question. And we need,
Yes.
and then when we can talk about the question, then we can dig deep and have those real authentic conversations about it, right? How, we're getting close, like we weren't close already, right?
All the
So,
time, actually.
yeah, exactly. Um, and it's just been an amazing, wonderful, congruent conversation of
Yes. Thank
sharing
you.
sharing the same views in different ways, right? And being able to unpack that, which is really critical, I think.
A blessing. Thank you.
It actually is to be able to have a psychologically safe and intellectually humble conversation.
Yes. Yes.
And so how, speaking of those two elements, what kind of advice would you give to others to have or be in that place of being able to have an intellectually safe and intellectually or a psychologically safe and intellectually humble conversation with themselves first?
Start it. I say the same again. Start it. There's never too
That
late.
first step.
Never too late. No. It's regardless your age or your life situation, it's never too late to
Begin
become friend again with yourself and come back to the one you are and leave the outside world, what you hear, and so only what you feel. Like I say, go in nature is a good, I do it when I'm
Right.
confused or I need to calm down or to ground myself. I sit somewhere in nature, you know. There is no
Now, to
phone in
so
my
many
pocket,
people, though,
no nothing.
to so many people, that just doesn't make sense, right? Because they're used to living in the world as it is. How do you suggest that they suspend that and explore the other? How does that happen? How might that happen?
Yeah, hopefully it happens in a way that you don't have to hit rock bottom first. Let's say that you get it in a moment in time that you start to work on yourself. That everything starts with yourself, not with someone else or with the outer world. It is mostly a reflection of yourself than what you see.
Mhm.
So start with yourself. Find the freedom in yourself again in this unpeaceful times. Like a counterpart in the outer world is war. In the inner world, try to find your peace again, your peace, safe zone, peaceful safe zone, and it start with yourself, you know, and then carry it out, share it with others. I know I repeat myself, but I don't have the recipe. I only can tell from my own experience. It is a permanent learning by doing and by doing
Right. Well,
in
it's
a
like,
way I feel harmonious with, where
right.
I feel in one.
Well, and it's so easy too. It's like, okay, step one, start. Step two,
Yes,
go back to step one.
yes,
Right.
yes.
And
Live it
every time.
consciously. And when you see you are disturbed or disattracted from your past, find it again.
Right.
Ground yourself
Well,
again.
first of all,
Simple. Go in nature. Then happiness is easy. I found out it's so easy. Like you can make a child smile with something easy, with a joke, with some body language. Why we forgot all that? You know, it is
yeah.
happiness is easy. We made it complicated by
Well,
overthinking, by restricting ourselves from our own happiness. That's
and
the truth.
and the science behind that, even, I love to throw this in, that it takes 32 muscles to frown and 7 to smile,
Yeah. Yes.
right? So that's like better than 4 times easier.
Yes. Happiness is easy. You know, smile more. You know, and share it with others. But
Very good.
genuinely, you know that how they say in Asia, sugarcane speaking, you know. Forget it, tell the truth. And like you said, when it hurts, actually you say something to me that helped me open my eyes and my heart again. And it hurt, I will say thank you to you.
Mhm.
Thank you, you helped me. you help me on my way of inner evolution and growth, and to on the way back to myself, in the good way. I would say thank you. It hurt, but it helped me a lot. And sometimes when something hurts, it helped a lot. When we burn our fingers as a kids, then we know fire is hot.
Right, don't do that again.
So, yes.
This has been a wonderful conversation.
Wonderful.
Man, time
Wonderful.
just flew, and
Yes.
it happens
Yes.
when you're having a great time and having fun
Yes.
and enjoying each other.
Thank you so much. It was one of my most precious and most beautiful conversations in my life. And I won't forget that. And thank you so much. I have a blessed day now. It's 8 o'clock. I go for breakfast now with my family, and the day could not have started more beautiful, more fulfilling, and in deeper gratitude. Thank you, Sam. Thank you.
Thank you, Otto.
Thank you. And let's talk soon again. We
right.
have a lot to talk.
All right. And
next time I have questions for you.
Okay.
I'm a good listener. I go in meetings without the list of questions. I listen to the other one first and bring in my thoughts, share my thoughts.
Yeah.
But I'm a good listener. And the next time I will have some questions.
Okay. Very good. I'll look forward to that.
Thank you.
And so, namaste and
namaste.
Thanks for sticking with us for this edition of One World in a New World. I'm Zen.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you, Otto.
Thank you.
I will see you all next time.